our next presenters are definitely worthy of that title. They have been with us every single year for the 16 years of the Keeping the Farm Workshop, and they always do a great job of answering questions to landowners with property tax updates. And so today we have Mishele Lord, the Senior Appraiser with Wake County Tax Administration Office, and we have Braxton Williford, the Appraisal Manager with Wake County Tax Administration Office, to go through their tax update. I believe they're going to split that so that you probably hear from both of them today. But we're so lucky to have them and their knowledge. And so we'll let them get started with their presentation.
Good afternoon and welcome to the workshop today. Today we're going to give an overview of properties that are in present use value. We're going to compare 2013 to 2021 just to see how it's going. We're going to talk about how use value is determined. We're going to talk about PUV or present use value requirements, and we're going to talk about how to apply for present use value. Present use value has, in the past 8 years, has gone from 3,613 parcels to 3,523 parcels. That's not a lot of parcel difference. That's 90 parcels that are different. We have noticed, though, that the present use value acreage has gone down by quite a bit, 14% as a matter of fact. We've lost just about 17,000 acres in the past 8 years. There's always been a lot of questions about who determines the use value rates. The use value rates are determined by the Use Advisory Board as under supervision of the NC State University Agricultural Extension. Use value rates are grouped into soil types and then into soil classes. This map shows the different soil classes for agriculture, horticulture, and forestry in Wake County. We're going to go over the basic requirements for use value, which are size, ownership, income, applications, PUV compliance review, and deferred taxes. The minimum size requirements are 10 acres in actual production, and that is actively engaged in the commercial production or growing of crops, plants, or animals for 3 preceding years. Horticulture is 5 acres in actual production for the 3 preceding years, and horticulture would involve fruits, vegetables, nursery, and floral products. Forestry is 20 acres in actual production for the preceding years. Just a little bit of information, additional information on size. Multiple contiguous parcels can be considered a qualifying tract. Parcels that are separated by a road are considered contiguous. Land under improvements used for farming operations can be considered as acreage in production. Home sites are not considered acreage in production. There must be at least the minimum acreage required for each program must be in production every year. Non-contiguous parcels that do not have minimum acres in production qualify under the expansion of a unit exception as long as there is a qualifying parcel under the exact same ownership. Land in another county can be the qualifying parcel as long as it was within 50 miles on a straight line from parcel to parcel, or as the crow flies. Next, we'll go to ownership requirements. For properties that are not in present use value, individuals must have owned the land for 4 full years preceding January 1st of the year the benefit is claimed, or resided on the property on that January 1st. Business entities must have owned the land for a full 4 years preceding that January 1st that the benefit is claimed. For properties that are currently in use value, there is an exception to this ownership requirement. If the property is in PUV at the time of transfer, the new owner can accept the deferred tax liability as long as all the other requirements are met. That parcel or qualifying parcels. Additional information on ownership. Multiple parcels that make up a qualifying tract must be in the exact same ownership. A transfer to a family LLC or family trust is considered a different ownership. Once a deed is recorded, it cannot be undone. We beg you, please, to call our office before ownership change takes place, so we can avoid an unfortunate collection of the deferred taxes. All non-related family members of a business entity must be actively engaged in the farming or forestry operation. If the land is leased to a farmer, it will not qualify. A family business entity may lease to a farmer. Only one member of that LLC or business entity must be actively engaged in the farming or forestry operation. And lastly, the primary business of a business entity must be related to agriculture, horticulture, or forestry.
You got to unshare.
Sorry. Not letting me undo it. No, no stuff here.
Thank you, Mishele. I'm going to pick up with the income requirement. There is an income requirement for both agriculture and horticulture. The income requirement is an average of $1,000 over a 3-year period. For forestry use, there is no income requirement due to the long-term nature of growing trees. Although for forestry, owners must follow a written forestry management plan to ensure optimal growth. A little bit of additional information on the income requirement. Agricultural income can come from either agriculture or horticulture products. Although horticulture income can only come from horticultural products. The only exception we've found is sweet potatoes, where they can come from both agriculture and horticulture. Products that are grown on the farm and consumed on the farm can be counted as income. The main example of this would be hay. We also tend to call this value in exchange. This is basically when the livestock are eating a product that the farmer could sell for a profit. Income that is not acceptable would be rental income from the leasing of the land, stud fees, boarding fees, and training or showing animals. And also the renting of hunting rights cannot be included. The application itself. There is an initial application for properties not in PUV as of January 1. The application period is during the normal listing period, which is January 1st through 31st each year. Although an application can be filed after January 31st, but it will be considered a late file application. These can be submitted up through December 31st, but good cause has to be submitted. An initial application only needs to be filed once unless there is a change in the type of use or ownership. Another type of application is the continued use application. A continued use application is for properties that are currently in PUV on the date of the transfer, and the new owner wishes to continue the use value. The continued use application must be filed with the tax office within 60 days of the transfer. A continued use application filed after the 60 days will be considered a late file application, and good cause would need to be provided. A continued use application only needs to be filled out once unless there is a change in the type of use or ownership. The new owner must accept the liability of any existing deferred taxes. Some additional application information. If you were to purchase a property in PUV and you want it to remain in PUV, please contact our office and request a continued use application just before the transfer. Let your attorney know that you want to keep PUV on the property so that deferred taxes are not collected at closing. I would also let the seller's attorney know as well. The type of use must also stay the same on a continued use application. If this is your only parcel in PUV, it must also meet the size and income requirements. If this parcel happens to be in addition to other qualifying tracts, it must be in active production. If this is a continued use forestry application, then a forestry management plan needs to be submitted to the office, to our tax office. We do allow the application to be filed, and the management plan can be delivered later. Sometimes there is a delay in getting a forestry management plan in place. The PUV compliance review. The Department of Revenue requires that every county in the state review all the PUV parcels at least once every 8 years to verify the eligibility. The last time Wake County did this was in 2017 and 2018. The next review should take place between 2022 and 2025. Although on occasion, we are required to look at individual properties on an as-needed basis. Potential rollback of deferred taxes. If a PUV property happens to lose its eligibility, we are required to collect the deferred taxes for the current year plus the 3 previous years. A rollback could either be for 4 years or 3 years, depending on if the current year taxes have been billed. Once a property loses its eligibility, the deferred taxes are due and payable immediately, and the current year taxes will be due the following January 5th. We do see a lot of DOT taking of PUV properties. Since the DOT is constantly making changes to the amounts of acreage taken, GIS, our Geographic Information Systems, must wait until the right-of-way highway deed is filed with the Register of Deeds. If DOT has not provided the map to GIS, the owner may submit their own survey that has the surveyor's seal and the amount of right-of-way taken. Once the right-of-way is split out, the tax office will create deferred tax bills. A copy of the bills will be sent to the owner and the appropriate DOT division. The general statutes state that in these situations, the deferred taxes will be reimbursed. So you should follow up with your DOT representative. As always, we are here to help. Please feel free to contact us before making any changes to any PUV property. We can work with you to review what you are considering doing and hopefully avoid any unintended loss of your eligibility. You can either call us or email us with any questions. I have up our main contact number, our tax help email address, and we do have additional information on our website at www.wakegov.com. This is our direct information if anybody is interested in contacting Mishele or myself directly. On a side note, Mishele is going to be retiring at the end of September, and I know she has been a huge part of keeping the farm over the years, and she has helped numerous people work their way through changes to their property. Mishele is going to be training a new exemption specialist that hopefully will be just as helpful and knowledgeable as she has been for the citizens of Wake County over the last 10 plus years. She's been basically running our present use value operation. Thanks.
Thank you, Mishele and Braxton, for that great presentation. So, and he's right, Mishele, we're certainly going to miss you over here. So, but we'll work on getting you back. So now that you're retired, you can have free time to come on back to keeping the farm for us. So I know we're going to take a little bit of time to make sure there's no questions in the comment or chat boxes. If Michaela, we got our conservation specialist with us from the Wake Soil and Water Office. Michaela Wren is checking that. So I'll let her tell me if there's any questions.
Yes, we do have one question from Dustin and Burton. He asked, does agritourism count in the income requirements, either in person or virtual, like YouTube?
Okay. For the majority of cases, agritourism income does not count. The best thing for him to do is to give us a call and tell us exactly what he's doing. Then we can tell if any part of the income may qualify.
Good point. So that's always a question I have too. So from a lot of farmers. Any more, Michaela?
Let's see, I'm looking through. That's the only one I see right now. If anyone does have questions, feel free. There is a live chat box to the right. If you're watching from YouTube, you can post your questions there. If you're watching from Facebook, there is also a comment box that you can place your questions in. We'll give people a few minutes to see if anything comes in.
I had one that I wanted to ask that I get this quite often, and I just want to make sure that it's stated with Mishele or Braxton, whoever feels comfortable with asking it or answering this question. But I get asked a lot with forestry landowners about their written forest management plan. Do they have to have a registered forester write that forest management plan? Or they have to get the North Carolina Forest Service? Can they do it themselves? So I get that question a lot. So if they could answer that about, as far as the forest management plan goes, what would they be willing to accept for that?
They don't need to have a formal one by a forester. If they're knowledgeable of what needs to be done, of the steps to be taken, and we can even provide the steps that need to be taken and what they need to include in that plan in order for it to qualify.
Thank you. And one other important thing I know Mishele highlighted in her presentation, and I've worked with a lot of landowners over the last 15 years, I guess, here now, is that the deferred taxes, if it does come out of PUV, they said that deferred taxes are actually due immediately. And so a lot of people don't understand that as well. Those 3 years, could be 4 years, depending on if the current year taxes are paid, but it's not, you're not given any amount of time to pay those rollback taxes. And so they are due immediately. So that is why it's important, and why Mishele was saying, please, if you are going to look at doing anything as far as change of ownerships and things like that, it's very important for you to call the Wake County Tax Administration office or Soil and Water office here and let us help guide you and get your questions answered as you go about that. And, inheriting or, giving it to your kids and passing it on to generations and things like that. It's very important for those taxes and not making a mistake, because I've seen a lot of landowners over the last few years make that mistake. So very important. Anything else you see, Michaela?
We have one more question from Will Ormond. He asked, just to clarify, if you rent out your land, does that not count as income?
The renting of the land does not count as income. It has to be a product that is grown or produced on the farm.
Awesome. Good questions. Very good questions. Thank y'all for asking those. And like I said, we will have some time at the end too. So if you think of something as we keep going, that's fine. Just put it in the box there, and they'll be on with us. And like I said, if you'd like to speak with a live person, you can call us and email us at the end, and we'll be glad to take those questions and get you a follow-up answer to make sure we get you the right information and answer your questions.